Welcome to Just Thinking. This is Mary Greendale. The title of this show grew out of a lifetime of curiosity about many different subjects. Some local, some global, and some in between. For each show, I will open with my thoughts and then bring on guests to explore the subject in greater detail. I hope the show inspires healthy discussions on camera and among viewers. To me, the sky's the limit when we are just thinking. Hi, I'm Mary Greendale, and welcome to another edition of Just Thinking. Today I'm going to introduce you to the town clerk, and by no coincidence, we have the same last name. This is Elizabeth Greendale, and she is the mother of 4 beautiful grandchildren of mine. Thank you. Anyway, so for those of you who have not been to Elizabeth's office, the town clerk is sort of the central entrance point to town government. If you don't know who you should be calling or what you should be doing or whatever, if you've got a question, automatically call the town clerk, 0601. So it's 508-429-0601. Easy. But anyway, I thought it was a good idea if we just run through the things that your office is responsible for, because I think sometimes people are a little bit unclear, not just about the office, but the kinds of responsibilities that sort of flow. They're not all, they don't look like they should all go together, you know, like rabies clinics and census. So let me start, though, with the census, because that one got some play this last year around the voters who were being denied, not here, but elsewhere in the country, being denied access to vote when they discovered that they hadn't submitted their census forms.
It is tied together, and a lot of people don't realize that if you answer your census every year, you will find yourself on the active voter list continually. If you do not, then you will be removed from the active voter list. We wouldn't unregister anybody to vote. It just becomes a hassle. They need to prove their residency when they come in to vote. That's why it's very important that they do answer that. And we get state and federal funding from our census, so that is an important piece to it as well.
What does that mean? How do you get federal funding?
Based on the number. So every 10 years we do the 10-year census, and we're preparing to do that now. The census 2020 is going to be coming in the mail, and some people are already starting to see preliminary things from the federal census, and that's how they base our numbers on.
So when there are federal programs, or it must affect redistricting too then?
It does.
You know, so that the total numbers of people in this community. And then all of the demographic information is done on the 10-year stuff, right? I mean, our little census that we get doesn't go into any demographic information, as I remember.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. So you mailed that out like in January. I think I already got it and sent it back. If I don't send it back this year or 1 year or 2 years, or how long does it take before I get taken off the active list?
4 years. No, excuse me. You get taken off the active list basically in June.
Okay, so if I forget to do it, then I can't vote this fall, or I can vote.
You can always vote. You can't. That's misconception. A lot of people say you're taking my right away. No, we're not. We're just you need to respond to us.
So then, if I went into the polls this fall, I'd have to bring identification to demonstrate I'm really me and where I live.
And you still live here. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's are you getting returns?
Oh yeah, we get a great response. We do.
Okay.
I'd say we usually get about 70% return.
That's great.
And then we send out a postcard, usually around April. If we haven't heard from you or people, then we send out a postcard, and it's very simple. It's postage paid. They just have to sign it and send it back.
I know, it is
I live
so
here.
easy.
I don't live here. It's
But you only get 70%? I mean, is that really that 30%?
Initially.
Okay, so then it gets better.
Then it gets better.
So there might be 10% of the people who, when they get to the polls, may find out that they don't have, I mean, it is that they forgot to send it, and therefore they're not active, and so that's when they have to go to over to you, to one of the registrars or whatever, and say, okay, this is me.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I have been at the end where people have had to be, when they're not noted on the list, when we were checking off last year for early voting, then if they weren't on the list, they just went to one of your folks,
we call
your
it the
staff,
help desk,
and then just got checked in that way.
Yes.
And then they came back through me.
They have to sign an affirmation of continuous residence that they still live here, and that's, I mean, then they have to show ID.
Okay. What if you wanted to vote absentee? How do you do that these days?
Well, the absentee is still the same. I mean, you are supposed to not be living in town, not be in town on the day of election, or not be able to attend. We don't have no excuse absentee voting in the state of Massachusetts. So you can absentee vote in person ahead of time, or you can request an absentee ballot in the mail, and then we'll just mail it out to you. And we confirm the voter registration status, and then we mail it out.
Okay. All right, we'll get back to voting. Anyway, dog licenses.
Dog licenses are due right now. They run calendar year, and you have until the end of April to license your dogs. We just started this year. You can do it online. If we have your rabies certificate on file, you can do it all online, and we'll just mail you the license. So that's new this year, and it's all on the website.
All dogs?
All dogs.
All dogs.
All dogs 6 months and older need to be licensed.
Okay.
And it's really important that you do that, because there is a $50 fine if you don't. So it's pretty hefty.
How much do you have to pay just to license them?
It's $15 or $20 depending on if they're intact or not.
If they're spayed or neutered. Okay. All right. So I assume we charge more if they're not.
We charge more if they're not. It's
Okay.
$20 if they're not. And April 7th, there is a rabies clinic at the Highway Barn, 9 to 11, and it's $15 to come and get your dog's rabies. Get dogs, cats, and I think they do ferrets as well. The Board of Health runs that, but I'll be there licensing dogs.
Ferrets.
Ferrets.
Anyway, when you speak about the rabies clinic, is that how you get your information about whether a dog has the rabies thing? What about people that don't? Okay, I'm not asking that properly.
I think I know what you're asking. Local vets, or actually all vets, I don't know if I think it is a requirement, mail us a list of every rabies certificate that they do.
Yeah.
So that's how we capture people who don't license a dog that have gotten their rabies certificate.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, because I was going to say, oftentimes I'll take a dog to the vet, and that's where he or she will, Okay, fine. Fine. And the rabies clinic is just that one day from 9 to?
1 day.
Okay. 9 to what? 11 or 1?
9 to 11.
9 to 11. It's crowded that day, isn't it?
It usually is, yes.
Yeah. That's because it costs $58 just to walk in the door at the vets.
Exactly. You don't have to do that. It's $15 per animal.
Do cats need to get rabies shots?
Yes. Rabies, license, no.
Okay. Rabies. Okay. All right. I don't know who's mine have got rabies shots. But anyway, okay. So then let's do the election process, because that's just also underway. I mean, you got this is kind of a
very busy time of year.
It's kind of busy time.
It's a very busy time.
Yeah,
yes, we're getting ready. The timeline has been set for the elections. Town meeting is May 7th, and the election is May 22nd. And nomination papers are available for all offices except for moderator and town clerk. Those will both be on the ballot next year, because it's a three-year term. For those two positions, all other positions are on the ballot.
Okay. So if you wanted to run and you went in and got nomination papers, how many signatures do you need?
You need 50 signatures by
registered voters.
Registered voters. We request that people get more, only because we may not be able to read someone's handwriting, or they may think they're registered and they're not.
Oh, interesting question then. So if I forgot to send the census back, and I went ahead and I signed somebody's papers, and it ended up at your desk, that might disqualify my signature?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
Because actually, in essence, you're signing something saying you live at that address.
Okay.
So it's another way to capture a census.
Okay. All right.
We don't recommend it.
Right.
We don't encourage it, but it does.
Okay, so it doesn't invalidate that signature, though, if in fact I forgot to send my census back.
Correct.
Okay.
I like that tie-in.
It was like, whoa, wait a minute. Not that I have ever forgotten to send my census back. I think I do it right away, just because it's one of those things it's easy to forget.
It is easy to forget, and
pile.
it's kind of funny when we get, we send out our census, and then we get one from 2 years ago that's in pristine condition, because it's been in a pile at someone's house, and they go, oh, I need to get that in.
I have this. I know I have one of these. Yeah. Okay, so back to the town elections. You need 50 signatures plus a few extras so that you don't end up with too few. And then when do you file those papers?
Those have to be filed by, the deadline is Tuesday, April 3rd, 5 p.m.
Okay, and the election you said was May 22nd? Okay, so the real campaign period is from April, I already forgot the date, 3rd?
Well, April 3rd.
April 3rd and to the 22nd, because it's possible that somebody could go down and get papers the day before filing date and get 50 signatures. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get 50 signatures.
Happened, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't be sure whether the full slate would be. Okay, so then you file the nomination papers. Elections are on May 22nd. What happens to the sitting boards for town meeting? I mean, they are still in office, so it is the sitting boards. It used to be that they would transition when the date used to be in March, the election.
Some towns do that. They have their election before town meeting, so then you've got new people sitting on the board.
Trying to defend whatever's in town.
Whatever's in the warrant for town meetings. Yeah. So I think this is a more practical way of doing it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so putting out a pitch just for, do we have people that are running this year? I mean, do we have people?
We do. We actually have, I brought with me the people who are running so far. We don't have any race. We have one race for the school committee.
Okay.
There's 2 positions available. No, I'm sorry. There were 3 positions available and 3 people. So we don't.
So you're talking about a competition where you have too many people in only one slot or something like that. Do we have candidates for all of the slots at this moment?
We do not have a candidate for Board of Assessors or Board of Health.
Okay, as a member of the Board of Assessors, let me put out a plea. We do not run well on 2 people. We definitely need a member of the Board of Assessors, and this is a sort of interesting little office, one that, you know, admittedly I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to over the years, but we're the ones who just, you know, basically.
But a very important office.
We basically drive what the tax base is, or at least report on what the tax base is. All right, so there is still ample opportunity to run for public office. Certainly hope that people will consider doing that. It is a volunteer-driven government, and if you don't, then all things, you know, become up in the air. Yeah, we appoint people and so forth, and maybe that works, but you don't have the same kind of government when it isn't through an election process. So anyway, all right, so we have the town election. Or do we have other elections? Yeah, this is an even number,
Yes, so, we do.
So in September, you have a primary.
We have a primary, and that new date has been set to the day after Labor Day.
Oh, there was a brouhaha about that choice of dates.
There is, and there always is.
Wow. Yes. Okay. And that covers state offices for sure. That's the governor's office and all those. All legislators, that is State House and State Senate. Any Congress people?
Yes, I haven't seen the ballot, but yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so it's basically everything except the president. It's all the state stuff. It's everything from here. Okay. All right, so you've got that in September and you've got that in November. Town meeting, what exactly is your role at town meeting?
My role at town meeting is to record all the votes.
Okay.
And make sure that I have an accounting of what the actual motion is that we're voting on.
Oh.
So that's why it's very important when anybody makes a change that it's in writing, because I have to have the accuracy. That's.
It is hard at town. It is hard at town meeting when you're trying to make you're trying to amend something or put in a new motion or whatever. It is hard, and maybe we need to have a little computer with a printer there or something for people to go in and type it up themselves so that they're accurate.
Well, that's an issue too, because reading somebody's handwriting.
Yeah, seriously,
is difficult too. But a lot of times people know ahead of time that they want to make an amendment to a motion, so they will type it up in advance. So that's very helpful. But. You know, it's okay. We'll take the time for somebody to write something and write it accurately and legibly. So.
Okay. And the quorum at town meeting?
Is 100.
Okay, so it's 100 people who get to decide on the entire budget and all of the spending, policy, zoning, and everything else, other articles.
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
And it's the luck of the draw because we don't have an elected representative town meeting. Like in Natick, you know who your representative is, and you can go and pitch or whatever to him or her. But here, it's just sort of the luck of the draw. So
it is, but that's also the best part about it, in my opinion, because that's the purest form of government. You can come and change the mind of the voters. If you are looking at an auditorium of 100 to 150 people, you can sway them one way or the other.
Yeah, because you really only have to sway half of them.
It's true.
Plus one.
It's true.
And it can be done.
It can be done. I've seen it done. I've seen it happen.
Over and over again.
Yes.
Sometimes not for the best, I have to say.
Correct.
Sometimes we can be very emotional at town meeting, and therefore not necessarily do our best thinking and react on that emotion. And then, there may be some,
It is hard to keep emotions out of it.
It is. Yes, it is. We've had some very serious issues up here in town meetings that have been, and I think that this year, and in fact I'll be doing a show on water, and I know that this year we'll have some water articles, and I think you can expect that we'll hear some emotion to go with those motions. Okay. If you want to vote at town meeting, is there a deadline to register to vote?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
The deadline to register to vote for town meeting is April 17th. It's 8 p.m.
Okay, so
The town clerk's office will be open until 8 p.m. on April 17th to register to vote. However, you can go on the website, and our website or mass.gov, and you can also register to vote there.
Are you serious?
That's been for a while.
Well, I've been registered for a while,
So
too.
you didn't need to register again. Yes, there's many ways to register to vote.
Isn't that interesting?
There are, and I think the 8 o'clock is almost a little unnecessary now because you can register online.
Yeah.
And
when you're sitting there in the dark waiting for people to come in.
I know the poor registrars. They all bring books. And
We have to get them a widescreen TV. Okay, so April 17th to register to be able to vote at the town meeting. And again, I reiterate, there will be significant, there always are, there's always at least one significant issue on every town meeting warrant. So if you think you haven't, if you haven't registered to vote, get down there by April 17th and do it, or go online and do it. Who knew? My God. All right, we're making it really easy. So another thing you do is all death and birth notices. The birth ones are fun.
birth, death, and marriages.
And marriages.
And marriages.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do with those things?
We archive them. All of the certificates. We archive them all. And they are a permanent record of the town.
How far back do they go?
1724, the beginning of Holliston's time.
Isn't that great?
It's wonderful.
I just love it.
I love it.
I just love it.
We just had a lot of restoration of some of our records. And it's a work in progress, so we're doing some working through CPC and getting that done. And it's wonderful, and it's easy to get yourself lost in looking at those records.
When they restore them, they put them in some sort of sleeve, right?
Yes.
So that you can actually flip through them
can.
and look at them. Yeah.
Right.
And we have a temperature-controlled vault in your office, and I think there's one downstairs too, maybe? I think there's one.
I don't know if that one's temperature controlled. My records are in the vault in my office that I know is temperature controlled.
Can an average person go in and ask to look for those? Look at those?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, that
During a busy time, I wouldn't recommend doing
Yeah.
that. But yes,
Yeah.
most days they can come in. Summertime is a frequent time for people to come in. They travel. People researching their genealogy. We've had people come from all over the country researching their ancestors. It's kind of fun, and then they can go into the cemetery next door, or because that's all been cataloged through from Paul LeBeau.
Yeah, Paul did. I don't know if it's still available online. It used to be through the Historical Society, but he did a map, if you will, of all of the gravestones, so that you could go, fourth row over, third one down, and actually go search by name
And find
find who you were looking for. Whereas prior to all of his labor of love, you could wander back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Some of those tombstones are really interesting. I know that Joanne recently did. Joanne Hulbert, our quasi or informal town historian, did a project over there recently. And had people going through it. I think it was at Halloween time, talking about stories about
Yes, I know. I missed that. I wanted to do that.
Yeah, I had thought about doing it too, and didn't quite get there. When it comes to death and birth records, I guess I'm just. What is the process? Do does the family notify you, or is it that in the case of birth,
You mean how do we end up with
yeah,
them?
how do you get that information?
Well, a certificate is processed through, actually, I'm going back. Now, birth and death records are done online. It's all electronic now.
Huh.
So the hospital will initiate a birth record,
Okay.
and the funeral home will initiate the death record. And then they get sent to us for certification. We finish it off and give it the proper numbering that it needs, and register it in the town.
So you don't physically have to go in there anymore then to let people know that somebody's died? You don't have it, or
no.
go to town hall to go in. You don't. Or,
No.
Yeah.
No. That's all done. I mean, unless it's a home birth, we have to. There's a whole worksheet that has to be filled out from the parents and the attending.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Hadn't thought about home births. Okay, and the marriages?
The marriages, they have to come in and apply for their marriage license, both parties. So then we actually fill out the certificate, and then everything gets sent into the state.
Secretary of State's office. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you still do weddings, Justice of the Peace
I am a
things?
Justice of the Peace, yes, and I do weddings. It's very fun. It's a fun part of my job.
Yeah. Do most of them do, that old image, what is it on the artist, that has
yes,
the...
Norman Rockwell. I have that.
Rockwell.
I have that in my office, yes.
Do you do them in the offices, or do you do them someplace prettier than, not that your office isn't pretty?
I know I do all. I do them in the office. Sometimes, we'll do them in the front hallway where it's a little prettier. Up on the stairs.
Yeah.
People like that. It's a good place for them to take pictures. Sometimes they just go, no, it's fine. Just stand here right in your office and we'll just do it.
We'll
stand over the counter and we'll do it that way.
Really? Seriously? Does anybody take a picture?
No, we usually do. Sometimes out in the garden. Now we have that new
pretty.
beautiful garden.
Yeah. That's pretty.
That.
And I know that some people actually have weddings upstairs and stuff too.
Yes.
But at any rate, we do it over the counter here. You just have to make sure you take off the
City
candy.
Hall wedding, yeah.
Take off the candy and all of the posters and stuff that you have decorating it. Okay. All right. What did I leave out?
Oh my gosh, what did you leave out? There's a lot. There's business certificates, people who have to register their business in town. They don't have to if they're doing a DBA.
They don't have to if they're doing it? Or
they do if they're DBA. If they're incorporated,
doing business as.
Yes. If they're incorporated, they do not because they have
with the state.
With the state.
Okay, so if you're just, I know when I had the little plant store down at Fisk's, it was me
filed a business certificate with
right.
us.
I had to file a business certificate. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there? I can't even remember. Is there a fee for that?
$20 for 4 years.
Okay. All right. And do you have to re-up every year?
Every 4 years.
Just every 4 years.
Every 4 years. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. All right. What else?
Yeah. Let's see. What else? The zoning is processed through our office.
That's right. If you want to get permits and variances and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of the bylaw changes.
All bylaw changes are done through my office, except for, I have to file everything with the Attorney General's after town meeting. And then there's that whole long process that usually takes up to 90 days.
In addition to recording the votes, do you record the minutes for town meeting?
I do.
Yeah, okay. So we have track of all of those things too. Okay. Do we save those?
They're all online, and I have a hard copy.
Okay.
And those go back to 1724. All the minutes of town meeting. And all elections.
Wow, I can remember town meetings that went 4 and 5 nights.
I've seen that in doing research.
It's
and I think, wow.
You had
day 8 of town meeting. Wow.
You had to get a babysitter, because just about everybody in the room had kids.
And you couldn't watch it on cable.
And you couldn't watch it on cable.
You couldn't sit home and watch it. If you wanted to know, you had to be there.
Yeah, and oh my God, we'd take our knitting and it was almost brown bagging.
Camp out.
Yeah. Well, in the early days, I think they did it on Saturdays, or they did it on a I think, no?
I haven't noticed.
I thought that they did it on a Saturday, and they would have picnics and stuff, and they would do it it would obviously upper town hall. When I first got here, we were meeting in upper town hall. That's where we were when the first leash law passed.
Oh, really?
That was my first town meeting.
Wow.
It was an eye-opener from the girl from the city. You know, it was like, huh? What is this?
I think it still is for city people.
Well,
it's an eye-opener.
and again, that's why I try to underscore how important going to town meeting is.
I think one of the biggest impacts that I've seen just in my tenure as town clerk that people are upset about, or were upset about, when they changed the dog fine for not licensing your dog from $25 to $50. And people, how could you do that? How could you do that? Well, it only took 100 people to do that. It really only took 51 to do that. And they passed it, and if you had an opinion, you could have come and expressed it. And that's what we stress about.
I know, but it's so hard to get, people think that it's all the Board of Selectmen, or, and sometimes they call them a town manager, the town administrator, think that they're the ones that are just making these decisions. And frankly, there's hardly, you know, I won't say nothing. You know, there are some decisions like Andrew's school that ultimately became their decision. But, you know, most of them go through town meeting in one way or another. Well, in fact, that one did too, because we gave them the authority to make the decision. You know, so it all goes through town meeting, and some people just don't understand that. And then they come out, you know, really upset. And I understand that they're upset. But, so that reminds me, should we explain your relationship to those other elected boards? I mean, you're an elected official, so you don't report to the Board of Selectmen.
No, I report to the townspeople.
Yeah, so you don't report to the selectmen. Do you have to report to the town administrator? Is there any?
No.
No? Okay. I assume that everybody talks to everybody else.
We do. We all work together.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a small building.
It is a small building.
Yeah. But for the structural piece, anyway, there is no reporting process. You are, if anybody's really your boss, it's the Secretary of State, who could, you know, he can't remove you from office.
No, he can't, but they have, most of our laws are through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that we do. We have a close working relationship with the election director as town clerks. You know, we go to conferences 4 times a year, and we work very closely with them.
And what do they do?
And our association, the director of elections.
And training you on, warning you about what's coming next?
What's coming down, what's happening. We have a legislative committee that works closely with our lobbyists. I mean the Mass Town Clerks Association. And I actually wanted to add that something new that's coming down the road is automatic voter registration. It's kind of hot on the hill right now, so to speak. And in that bill, we have gotten some provisions for early voting, which everyone loved for the presidential election, which was great. And we had a huge turnout. We had 35%, excuse me, turnout for early voting, which was huge. It was very strange the day of the election, the presidential election. It was eerily quiet in the auditorium.
What was the total turnout for the whole election?
It did not increase voter participation. It did not.
And that's the part that I think is a little disquieting, because that's what the argument is. Make it easier for people to vote, and more people will vote.
They didn't.
But didn't it cost more time and money?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the part that annoys me. Who's paying for that?
No doubt. We have not been reimbursed. The auditor has determined that it was an unfunded mandate and that we're supposed to be getting funding for it, but we haven't seen anything yet.
So it made it more convenient for somebody to come in and vote early, and that's wonderful, but there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people sitting there checking off records all day long, all those days, those 5 days.
Remember, you were there.
All those envelopes and everything else
to be logged and categorized and alphabetized and counted and checked and rechecked.
I don't know.
But that's one of the things that we got in the bill was no envelopes and processing it through the computer. Because a lot of people who were voting didn't like putting their name on an envelope.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yes. Not that, I mean, nobody's looking at how anybody voted. We had thousands of them. So,
Right.
you know, they were just
But it was just
opened by a
different.
team.
It was
Yes.
different, and we're so used to voting anonymously that it just felt like an invasion.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're hoping that will go through, and we won't have envelopes. There's 3 things that we've asked the state for, is no envelopes, process it through the tabulator right then and there. We won't tabulate it, but it'll be processed
Yep.
through, and then no early voting by mail, which is a little redundant with absentee voting.
Absentee, yeah. Okay. Well, that was what I was going to say, too. I mean, how much easier can it be than absentee? And can't you vote early by going into town hall?
Absentee.
Absentee?
Yes, you can.
I mean, so I know I'm going to be away. I don't want to bother mailing it, so I can go to town hall. What's the window, though? It's up to a day or 2 before the election?
Noon before the day before.
Okay. So, I mean, there are so many different ways you can. I guess I've gotten just a little bit jaded about, you know, that so many more people would vote and that kind of thing. I think the people vote. It doesn't. You know, it's kind of like town meeting. Anyway, so what else did I leave? What else did I leave out?
There's so much more. The E911, so the 911 coordinator for the town, we do that. So every new residence gets connected through 911.
And that's for that
goes through my
reverse,
office.
whatever kind of the messaging service. Is that the Blackboard thing?
No, that's if you call 911, they know who you are.
Oh, the identification of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder, do people realize that if you call 911 when you're on your cell phone, you're going to the state police rather than local?
People don't realize that.
Yeah. So if you if you hit 911 and you go to the state police, you're supposed to ask for Holliston police. That's what I was told. I don't know whether that's true or not.
I just had a conversation with the dispatch at the police station, because that's been a concern of mine, not giving up my landline, because the landline is direct. They know exactly who you are. It goes to Holliston Police. You're right. A cell phone goes to 911, goes to state police. But she said it's actually, there's like a grid, and the GPS, it finds you.
It gets to Holliston?
Yeah, she feels very confident in that.
Interesting, because I've kept my landline for the same reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
You know, and besides, I've had the same phone number for so long. I may not be able to remember my cell phone number in a few years. Anyway, all right.
There's so many more things that we do. People have to register hazardous, if they're tanks, they're
Propane?
fuels and things
Fuels.
like that.
Okay.
Yep, underground storage, things like that. They have to register through the town clerk's office. If you're having a raffle, if you're a nonprofit that's having a raffle, you have to get a license through the town clerk's office, permit actually.
Does everybody remember that?
No. They don't. And it's not a big deal. People think, oh no, I'm going to be on the radar, but it's a $20 application, and it's the law. You have to do it.
It's gambling, isn't that it? Isn't it
It's
basically?
gambling.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's gambling, so they have to have a permit for that. It's a game of chance is what it is. So if you're doing a silent auction,
You don't need it?
you don't need it, because people are telling you that I'm going to spend this much money to purchase this item.
Okay.
So that's not necessary. But if it's a raffle, it is a game of chance. So there's no ways to get around it. There's no ways to say it's a drawing as opposed to a raffle. If people are purchasing a ticket, you need a raffle permit.
Okay.
It's that simple.
We're all going to try to remember that, right? I'm trying to think. On the March 17th, we're doing Holliston and Bloom and the Marigold Project and the Community Farm. They do the St. Patrick's Day breakfast kind of thing. I think that's a silent auction, though. I should check.
Yes, you should.
Feeling a little guilty now, but at any rate. Okay, well, I think we've probably, maybe we've touched on the majority of what has to go through. But for a new resident, I guess my thing would be, if you have a question,
Call the town clerk's office.
call the town clerk's office. Because
We are the concierge of the town, I suppose.
Yeah, it's okay, concierge, I like that. Because you really can at least direct us to where we're supposed to be,
Yes.
going, if not answer the question exactly there. All right, so parting thoughts just about elections and stuff. Any other parting thought that you'd share with the public that you'd want to?
Parting thoughts. We've covered most of it.
Okay.
Yeah, just come out and vote.
Yeah.
Don't waste our time, or money. Actually, we're going to be there no matter how many people come.
Oh,
So
God,
please
haven't
come.
there been some that were, oh my
We've
God.
had town elections with maybe 300 people
300 people.
out of 10,000 voters.
Oh, I mean, that is just appalling. But if I wanted to control an election as a former political sort of whatever, makes it so easy. Makes it so easy. You know, people worry about influencing elections and stuff. The smaller they are, the easier they are to influence. So that's just a whatever.
Yeah, and get involved. There's also a lot of boards and committees that are looking for
God,
people.
yeah.
If anybody's interested in volunteering or paying back.
There's
To the town?
on the website, on the town website, there is a location where you can go in and see what volunteer opportunities there are available.
Yes.
Good point. There are a lot of them that are going begging for help right now. All right. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Mary.
Alrighty. All right, everybody, you've got the pitch. Definitely remember town meeting, town elections, if you want to run for public office, or even if you don't really want to run for town office, maybe it's time, maybe it's your turn, please think about stepping up. So at any rate, thanks. It's another edition of Just Thinking, and we'll catch you again next time. Thanks.